Have you ever wondered, what is posture? And what makes posture good or bad? And how does posture affect your singing? In this video, I'm going to share with you what I've discovered about what makes for good posture and why I think everyone's posture can always be improved. I'll also share an example of how I push my posture in a more balanced direction in day-to-day life and what effect that has on my singing voice. If you're new here, I'm Chris, and I've spent the last few years recovering from back surgery and ended up learning about the amazing connection between posture and the voice. My goal is to share what I've discovered and help you learn to sing, as well as understand how to improve any skill through improving your posture. So let's get started. I'll be getting into how posture affects singing later in the video, so make sure you stick around. But before I do, I think it's really important to understand the basics of posture. So to start off, what is posture? Posture is basically the sum of how all muscles in the body engage to keep you upright against gravity. There's a part of the brain that is responsible for making sure that you don't fall down, and it achieves this by dynamically engaging your muscles to try and keep your head and spine as stable as possible. Which muscles engage and how much is something that's determined on a moment-to-moment basis using the context of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. For example, like trying to pick something up. To me, good posture is when every muscle, tendon, ligament, and joint is healthy with unimpeded and fully supported range of motion. What do I mean by healthy? For muscles, this means that every muscle is flexible and pain-free enough to fully engage, fully relax, and fully stretch along its entire possible range of motion. For example, your bicep needs to be able to engage enough to pull your wrist close to your shoulder, but also needs to relax enough to allow for your arm to straighten out when your tricep fully engages. I describe bad posture as the consequence of how the habits we develop interact with the adaptive nature of postural support. For example, when sitting in a chair looking down at your phone, you could either bend your neck and spine in a way that engages the upper back muscles to support the weight of the head and arms, or simply shut those muscles off and let gravity pull your head and shoulders forward and essentially hang off your muscles and tendons. If the less supportive way of accomplishing whatever it is you're trying to accomplish becomes habit, then your posture will be reinforced doing it that way. Over time, all of these small inefficient habits that we develop can lead to weakened muscles and a postural system that starts to fall out of balance. These weakened and ineffectual muscles can also lead to improper joint function, which can limit your range of motion and lead to injury. So what does all this mean? My takeaway from all of this is that I can always find a more efficient way to support my posture, and I think that this applies to everyone. No matter how well I feel I can accomplish any physical task, including singing, I continue to find opportunities for improvement. By paying close attention to the things that I do throughout the day, I can always find some habit or reflex that tends to pull me away from more balanced posture. For example, when I bend down to pick things up, I find that my glute muscles disengage and my hip flexors overengage. For me, tight hip flexors is a consequence of bad weightlifting habits I developed as a kid, and part of the reason why I ended up walking with that cane for 6 months and needing back surgery. So one of the many things that I do every day is work out to try and actively engage my glutes, because since the glutes pull on the hip flexors through muscle antagonism, getting my glutes to engage can help my hip flexors start to relax. And finally, how does posture affect your singing voice? While this is a gross oversimplification, I think that the muscles involved with singing can generally be put into two primary systems. The ones that support and control your airflow, and then the ones that support whatever you're doing with the rest of your posture. When your overall posture isn't properly supported, muscles can interfere with airflow management and end up having a direct impact on your voice. For example, one of my issues that I've been dealing with is my shoulders basically being pulled forward and tightening down onto my rib cage. Whoa, whoa. You can hear in this example that supporting my shoulder blades better opens up my voice because the weight of my arms isn't interfering as much with my airflow management. Another example of how my posture interacts with my singing voice can be found when watching myself record performance takes. You can see in this clip that my right arm is bent and my hand is hanging off my wrist a bit. This arm position comes from muscle weakness due to a shoulder injury and having been in a sling for 3 months after surgery. When I'm attempting to perform, which is another way of saying when I really care about how well I sing and don't want to mess up, adrenaline through the fight or flight response clamps down on my posture in a way that pulls my arm into this position. And recognizing this has helped me identify muscles that are not participating in supporting my posture as much as they should. I'm confident that everyone can find ways to improve their postural support, and I strongly encourage you to take some time and try to find ways to use your muscles differently to make body movements feel more supported. If you ever have any pain, I strongly recommend talking to a doctor or a physical therapist. I myself have been through years of physical therapy, and I found it very helpful in identifying the parts of my posture that I need to work on. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or join my Discord and ask me there. If you'd like to support me, then please like and subscribe and check out my Square and Patreon links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and remember to never stop improving.